Hello and welcome to TruGreen in Action. My name's Stacey. So I've been in lawn care for 20 years and I've been given advice to over 20,000 lawns in that time. And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why when the rain bounces back and returns after a long dry summer, your lawn doesn't always do the same? So I want to discuss something called dry patch. Dry patch is a condition that affects lawns and turf in general after prolonged dry weather. Now I'm standing kind of on the edge of an outfield, actually of a cricket ground at the moment, and we've had the perfect conditions this year for this problem to exist. So we had the driest, or one of the driest springs on record, followed by one of the hottest summers on record. Now, both of those are going to exasperate and dry out any lawn. And it's obvious that sort of when this happens, you expect your lawns to go brown in most cases, particularly if you're obviously not applying irrigation. But when the rain returns, often it's a struggle to understand why the whole lawn doesn't come back as you would expect it in the same rate. And a lot of that comes down to a condition called dry patch, which ultimately creates a hydrophobic soil which doesn't allow the water to repenetrate in the same way. Now, you'll often see this in crowns, kind of sort of ends of lawns, so where there's slight bumps where the problems are exacerbated by something else as well. And so if I just flip this camera around. So we've had a good few weeks of rain now, and you can see that we've still got these brown strawy areas in here. Now in the main, the outfield has recovered fairly well. And just to point out, this isn't an area that's treated. This is just somewhere that I walk regularly, and you can see it does have obviously far more issues than just a little bit of dry patch. But when we look at this, this is what we really want to focus on today, so that we can see why those areas are still brown, why they're not accepting moisture back into the surface, so that the lawn can ultimately recover in the way that we want it to. So we've seen what happens now actually out on the lawns and your own lawns and the domestic side of things. What you would tend to see is you tend to see areas around your borders being the first to green up, because the moisture is allowed to lay there for longer, and therefore it has far more time to penetrate and make its way into the soil. Now what we're going to do now is we're just going to look at what are the solutions, because obviously these are key. How do we get that lawn looking right? And in order to do that, we're going to have to look at how hydrophobic soil behaves. Now, we've got two petri dishes here. The slightly lighter greener version of the multicoloured particles is on a bit of a slope, and so it should ultimately demonstrate is if you receive rain in an area of dry patch that's actually on a crown or kind of has a sloping lawn anyway, how that moisture will behave and where it will end up and obviously affect your lawn. And then the other one that's slightly redder, pinkier colour, is just on a flat, and what we would expect there is either if it's accepting moisture, for obviously the moisture to be to penetrate through, or we would expect it to bead and actually lay on the surface if it's not accepting moisture. So if I take the plain water to start with, and all we do is we'll apply to our sloping lawn and see where that irrigation ends up. So as we'd expect, I'll just do another drop there, kind of hopefully you can see that well. So we can expect it's ending up at the bottom of that slope, and obviously what that's going to end up with if it's on your lawn is likely to be that actually that rainwater ends up in the stormwater drains and actually doesn't penetrate that lawn at all, and so that's why you continue to get those dry patches. On the other one, so let's now just do the same on the flat and just see what happens here. So again, we've got a slight undulation, so it's just trickling off, but there you can see we've just caught it. It's just beading on the surface. Hopefully you can see that well enough. It's not being accepted into the soil, so it's not going to make a difference to obviously your grass and that lawn. So what are the solutions? How can we improve this? Well, if we look at the principle of actually the borders allowing moisture to lay there for longer and therefore penetrate through, then aeration is obviously your first go-to. If we make holes in the lawn, whether you're using a fork or an aerator, ultimately what you're doing is you're giving it access, you're giving that water access to the soil profile, and that will allow it to lay there and pool there for longer and obviously penetrate. So if we take our mock aerator, a trusty nail for now, and obviously this is a very large particle size of what we're doing, so it's not going to create perfect holes, it's just going to create indents that ultimately will behave in similar manner. So now obviously if we apply a bit of moisture in these areas, it's going to end up down those holes, and therefore it's going to stay there and slowly penetrate into your soil surface. So that's the first thing that you can do. The second thing ultimately is apply something called a wetting agent. Now, TruGreen have a fantastic product that we apply as part of our AquaBoost program, and what this does is it just breaks up the surface tension and allows moisture back into the surface. So if we now take a diluted form of that product and we apply this, so what we'll do first, we'll just pop it, so there's just a bead there that and we'll just do another one so that it's nice and visible. Do the same on this sloping one and just see how it behaves differently. So again, there's two things that instantly strike. Neither of them have moved away from where they've been applied, and so this one, even though it's on the slope, has stayed there and is starting to penetrate through. On this one now, you can see already that the bead of water that sat next to it, the original one, is still there sitting proud, and actually kind of the one with the AquaBoost on it is actually penetrated through and made its way into the soil already. Similarly, actually now on the slope, you can see it's fully penetrated. I'm just going to add one more. I'm just going to put one, because obviously your perfect program for this is a program which combines both aeration and your AquaBoost. Now we've applied that into this aeration hole, you will see that this bead will now slowly disappear and slowly soak into that soil area. Now, obviously, kind of a wetting agent, fantastic that it's instantly, that surfactant that goes to work in it has instantly broken that surface tension and allowed moisture back in. But the key part of this is, does it then allow moisture back in afterwards? Because obviously the wetting agent itself isn't there to replace irrigation, it's there to assist irrigation and take it to where it's required for the plant. So actually now the real test is if we take some plain water again and just apply it in those treated areas and see what the behavior is now. So our original bead, and actually if I still put one just to the side of the treated area here, it will still run to the bottom exactly as we expected. If we now put it on top of the treated area, just see a slightly different behavior. So straight away, it's captured that bead of water. Similarly, if now I put the same on top of this, you see exactly the same. So again, if I come over here, if I drop it where we've not treated, same behavior as before, spears off. But actually, if I drop it on either of the treated areas, you will see that you'll get penetration back to where it's required. So in summary, what we're looking at here is we're looking at a combination of aeration and wetting agent as the perfect recovery plan for any lawn suffering from dry patch.